Hello and welcome to episode 9. This is CAIRNcast. You know the drill by this point, hopefully, unless it's the first time you've seen it.
We don't.
We do know the drill. We are here to talk about coffee-related / potentially business-related topics. I'm Robbie, and this is Harris.
Hello.
Something we've not done before, but I'm intrigued to do is, how's your week going?
Oh, no. You've really sprung that on me. It's only Tuesday, so yesterday was a good day. Busy roast day we had yesterday.
Yep. We went out for lunch. Innocent Gun and Leith, shout out. Tried to go to Albies, it was shut.
Albies
Need
or
to
shut.
start checking before I go places.
Shout out to Albies. Albies is great, but they were shut on Mondays. But yeah, if you haven't been to Albies, go to Albies, but don't go on a Monday. So far my week's going great.
Yeah,
but
our top 5 sandwich review video is coming soon. They'll be on there, but yeah.
We also have a special treat today, a bonus review. Instead of a crisps review, we have got an absolute banger review. Oh, I can't wait. Like, we're going to have to wait, which is a bit annoying.
Yeah.
But that to look forward to. Anyway, how was your week?
My week's been good, yeah. Not a lot of sleep last night. So this is why I asked you. I wanted you to ask me, and then I could have a moan about how badly my kids are sleeping. No, having a good week. I think we're obviously in a space right now, which is feeling quite productive. So coming in here and doing this feels like we're doing things, which is cool.
I think you can probably you can cut this if you can. Let the cat out of the bag with this. I think now it's all done and dusted. You can probably say what it is. And it also ties in a little bit to the overall part of the aspect of what we're going to be talking about today as well. I think so cryptic here. But I'm like, so where are we? We can probably finally say that.
Postcode or... We're in a new roastery.
Yay!
Hello. Here we go.
Awesome.
So that's your Cairngorm gone and moved into another space. But dry, warm, good floor,
walls,
nice neighbours. Wait till Chris break. And we're very excited. We're not yet able to use it as a functioning roastery space. So we're just using it as a podcast space.
Basically.
Which is great.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's been kind of a thing we've been trying to do for a long time, and it feels good to finally do it.
So good to get over the line. I think, briefly, very difficult to find industrial space in Edinburgh. So it is awesome to finally get in here. And we cannot wait to get it properly fitted out and have people around. I think it's really going to be a bit of a game changer for Cairngorm, having that ability to host, essentially. But
I think the journey we've been on trying to get a new space has been quite funny because we set off with quite grand ambitions, and it's the realization or reality of trying to find an industrial estate. An industrial space. We have ended up in an industrial estate, but a space has, over the time, we've kind of become more and more flexible, and we were worried that being too flexible was going to result in us being somewhere that really wasn't what we'd set out to achieve. But I think we've kind of found something which is practical, but also has character, and we can really build on the business here. So that's exciting.
Completely agree. Well, shall we segue that into what we're going to chat about today? Because having people around here and hosting is all part of building a community. And I think that's been something we've discussed has probably slightly held us back at the last roastery, is it wasn't really an environment that we were wanting to have people in all the time. And what we want to talk about today is how amazing the coffee community is in general, but I think as business owners, how community, essentially, as a business, is vital, essentially.
For sure. Why don't we start with the first part of that, and I've got a question for you, which is, do you think that the community that specialty coffee has is normal for an industry? Like, it's quite, I would say, like a caring, help your neighbor type industry, and is that prevalent in all industries? Or
I think different to other areas that I have seen is, as we kind of chatted about this briefly off air, is the willingness of everyone to share what I think in other industries would maybe be classified as secrets. I think we'll probably talk wider about I think the small business community is very open to helping each other, but that doesn't necessarily translate into industry specific knowledge all the time. I think that's quite important. So, if you were speaking to someone who sells shoes, for example, you're both small business owners, you both know how to run a small business and you can chat about that, but they can't necessarily help with the coffee sort of side of things. Whereas I think the coffee community, very much people share detailed specifics about their business all the time. And you guys chat about it all the time. Chat about coffee machines, about roasters, about all sorts. And I think I've not really seen that same level. And I guess flip that question back to you. So why are coffee people more willing to divulge than potentially other businesses?
Yeah, that's what I guess we're here discussing. It's quite hard to know with any certainty, but I guess there has to be a benefit to the individual or the business that they see building that community or being transparent with information gives them value.
Yeah.
Because I was going to say, like, is it all selfless, or is there a motive?
Yeah.
I mean, as an example, what we are doing here is essentially trying to build a community by sharing information and sharing our experience and being transparent.
Yeah.
And we don't monetize this content. We would love to.
Yeah.
But we can't yet. But we do hope that at some point that will spill over and translate to sales. Like, it's brand awareness, I suppose, of the fact we do what we do.
Yeah.
It builds brand trust and brand loyalty over time, I guess. And whilst we don't see an instant return, hopefully building a community around our brand is quite a key kind of. There's value in it, I think, for sure. So I would imagine that the reason other people are also doing that, as an example, a coffee influencer who does videos and shares information about products.
Yeah.
A lot of the time is either doing that because they've been given the products free and it's like a gifted type advertorial, or they are trying to build an audience so they can get to that point that they can monetize it. So it's like, that's where it's like, is it all selfless community, or is there a motive? And I don't see the problem in that. Like, I think it's okay to I think it's probably what pitches a successful business against another business is that they've built a community around themselves and managed to translate that to sales. Yeah,
and I completely agree with that. But for me, I'll take you back. There's a couple of stories you've told me. So one of them is your relationship, obviously, with Good Coffee Cartel. So at the start, you went and did potentially some roasting with them. And did you also do stuff with Dear Green as well?
Yeah, no. So I did a day of roasting with Steampunk.
Yeah.
And then a day of roasting with Good Coffee Cartel, which, you would think that's quite. And also, in addition to that, I had various sit-downs with Will and Dory, who were the roasters at the time of Steampunk.
Yeah.
And they were probably my first access point to a community in specialty coffee in Scotland.
Yeah.
So they were really well connected, and they were seen as the experts in their field of roasting because they were so freely happy to share information. And actually that bolstered their credibility. And I guess that is, it shows you a way of kind of scaling your business, become an expert in your field by being honest, transparent, happy to share. I think it does kind of work dividends. But yeah, I did both of those things. And then Dear Green has just been, I would say, a constant source of knowledge. And, I would say, Lisa's pretty free with information too,
I think Lisa's another,
and all sorts before I knew how to make coffee. So
for sure, she's another. It's a wrong use of the word, but pioneer in terms of, obviously she does a lot of work around Glasgow Coffee Festival, which again is all about community. You probably do a wee plug for Glasgow Coffee Festival because it's coming up very soon. But that's a huge community builder. It's all about community, and she does that off the skin of her own back.
I'm sure she wouldn't mind us saying that is purely selfless. Like it's not a means of adding profitability to her business. It's about trying to work towards the better good, which is Scotland being on the map for coffee. And that's something that drives us pretty hard too. Like, it's a goal of ours to be a spokesman almost for Scottish coffee, and in a place where we're not disregarded, but we were speaking to Kyle earlier, and it is kind of widely felt in the UK that if you want to build a career in coffee, London's the place to do it. And so, I guess the more content we can create, the more community we can build in Scotland, the more it grows that kind of sector of specialty coffee within Scotland. And I think therein grows careers, therein grows an audience for that.
Yeah, I completely agree with that. So when we chatted about this probably 18 months ago, around the biggest names in coffee in the UK are predominantly English, we would say, in terms of your Origins, Caravans. But like, so generally, the huge businesses, I guess, and they are huge. They would be many, many multiples bigger than a Cairngorm type business. A lot of them are English based, and I think a big thing for us is why was one of our initial questions, but obviously market size and all that kind of stuff will factor into that. But I think one of the biggest things Scotland has going for it is the community-ness that you can really, businesses are so close together. We are only 40-minute hour drive from Glasgow. Obviously us v them, for example, in Glasgow, another key component of the Scottish coffee industry and community. And I think that's part of our overall concept is Scotland can really stand out. You do say London is the place, probably right now people think you have to go to London, but why not just come to Scotland? Because there's an incredible community here. Definitely.
And like a large part of it boils down to money. It's like, for me, there's nothing worse than, nothing worse, but nothing better. Let's caveat that. Nothing worse than losing a member of your team or organization to the London coffee scene.
Yeah.
Because it feels, and like it's maybe not always the case, but it feels like that happens because we don't have the opportunities for them. And it kind of is true. It's like it's hard for us to create those opportunities. But then it is also a great thing because, it's credit. It adds credit to our business, essentially, that we've been able to craft this person far enough that they're acknowledged as, a key component then of the London coffee scene. An example is Alex Wallace, who is now, I think, head of quality at Caravan, who came up through the ranks. There's pictures of us in like the first year of trading where him and I are wearing Cairngorm t-shirts, making flat whites to the fringe goers in Edinburgh. And he's obviously gone through the ranks in the London scene now and is doing great, and we'll be competing against Kyle at the finals. Yeah,
that's awesome.
So like it's great to see, and it adds, I guess, reassurance that like we are able to develop people, but it's never nice to know that we then can't get them over the line and give them a real career. And that's something we talk about a lot, but I guess I don't know what the answer to that is. I think us trying to add a voice to the Scottish coffee community, I think is making people notice, I guess, that coffee is happening in Scotland, which is pretty cool. I think like the Scottish Heats were some of the highest scoring at this year's UKBC. So not what the podcast's about, but Scottish coffee's alive and well.
Yeah. Well, I think that is awesome. I'd segue onto that as well. We really want to do a podcast on employment pathways, I guess, within the coffee industry, just to show, I think, and highlight some of those stories, like in Alex Wallace. It's what do those journeys look like? Because I think it's the same with a lot of industries, where it's very confusing when you start off, about where you could possibly go. And there's so many different directions within the coffee industry that you can go. We look at Kay and Hannah, in the roastery as well. All these people have been baristas before, they've been deeply embedded in cafes, and now they're not. And it is interesting. There is a lot. But that's not necessarily so much community-based. But.
No, but I mean, like on that careers topic, I suppose, and we talked today about how, well, for me especially, it's I think I assume you probably agree, is that it's important for the individuals in a business to claim a stake for like what they want to do.
Yeah.
And I guess what we've seen from the community aspect work quite successfully is people almost building their own brand. I'm going to get like Adam Coffee Glasgow as an example there, but equally like your Aerodepress, Matt Cowy's, like, you know, the platforms that exist now allow people to be a part of the community in any way they want almost. And from the outside, it looks like Adam, as an example, has managed to, you know, monetize to a certain extent and get some kit, like we were saying, gifted, which is cool. And like everything he's doing is building the profile of coffee in Glasgow, and similarly we want to do the same in Edinburgh and Scotland and the wider
big shout out to Adam. Like, I love watching Adam's videos. I'm like, the guy's an absolute latte art machine as well. So like, if you like your latte art, watch some Adam Coffee Glasgow videos. I think that provides a very cool transition into I forget the name of the barista hired off the back of their TikTok account in the US.
Morgan
Eckworth. Yeah. I'm like, that just shows, you know, built an incredible TikTok following and now has a great job.
Make your own success.
So
dress for the job you want. In her case, a turtleneck. Which actually, I don't know whether she'd seen our Apple video before, but remember we used to wear them.
Yeah, we did.
Feels like a long time ago.
That was a one-time sort of situation.
It's still in the back of the cupboard. It'll be coming out.
It will. But that probably is another segue onto community, and a huge part of building a community now is based off the back of social media. Obviously, when you started out in 2014, it was still a thing, but probably not as big. Whereas now, how much of the community is built off podcasts? Is built off of all this, you know, visual, what would you call it? Digital stuff.
Yeah, it's interesting. I think, so like the podcast, as an example, it's transparent for everyone to see, gets between 75 and 250 views. So we're talking very small scale at this stage. But the kind of people that will sit through an hour of us talking about what we're talking about is quite a highly engaged audience and community. And I think we have a lot of voyeurs, casual Instagram followers who will absorb content casually. And it's almost like the next step, the transition, is to get them onto the podcast. And I think you will not get a huge amount of those people to transition. But to me, if you got 100 people actively engaging week after week, that in itself is quite a strong community. Yeah. And it's a different type of community to like someone liking a picture of a coffee bag or latte art. Yeah. And I think like there's some big questions around, but like there's a responsibility as someone who is then talking and in front of a community of people who are engaging with content. I think, you know, you're expected to talk about interesting topics, but you're expected to like represent their community well. Yeah. And like I was chatting to the Sunday Post on
it's got double pager.
Double page, so not just the one. But
how big is this mag? As big as this newspaper?
It's a big deal. It's a pretty big deal.
2 pages is a lot though. Like, what are they?
We'll do the David Brent sketch with for sure. Oh, I was going to put that in the bin. Okay.
This thing. Love that.
Isn't that? It says 2003. Oh yeah, it's just.
Jack's walked away, but Jack, note for you here: you need to get the David Brown sketch that we're referring to there into the podcast. It is. Me and you love David Brown, and it is one of the best scenes of all time. Okay, cool. Jack doesn't know David Brown.
So massive segue.
What? Yeah, it's basically wrong.
That's me. No, it's a massive segue though. You know, like Ricky Gervais has built himself a community around comedy, but also caring for animals.
Yes.
Which is interesting. And then he then has a responsibility to kind of represent them in a cruelty to animal sense, and does quite a good job on that. It's massive. But
Get David Brent on the fucking podcast.
can we get
Let's
David Brent on the podcast? Gee, I think Jack's is he dead?
No,
He's lying on the floor now.
Yes.
Oh, I've taken his office chair. That's why. I think I can't remember what we're talking about.
David Brent.
The double page spread. Yeah, when I was speaking to her on the phone, and I was talking about what was I talking about?
Coffee community.
Coffee community.
Segway. Segways.
Bad. The segues killed us in that sense. How about we talk about something else, which is quite a clear example of community, which is the Disloyal 7, which wasn't an original idea, let's be honest. It was executed at first in London, and then I think Lisa Lawson spearheaded it in Glasgow. Many years later, this would have been 2018 or 17 maybe. We did the Disloyal 7, which was 7 cafes in Edinburgh. And you got a 7-sided card, and you got a stamp on each one. And then once you completed it, you could take it to any one of those shops and claim a free coffee.
7-sided card?
Yeah.
How did it have 7 sides?
It was like a really weird shaped thing. We'll probably get a photo of it up here. Disloyal 7 card, yeah.
Yeah, I didn't have one, sorry.
It was like literally like, an oxkin, but with one less side.
Septicon.
I
don't know what it is. Maybe.
Pentagon. That's fine.
That's fine. I do think that's such a good example. Like how many, again, industries where it's like, right, so you've bought coffees in every other shop, and then you come into mine and you get a free one.
Yeah. So you've literally bought one coffee and then you're getting another free one.
Yeah. That's great.
But then the same would happen to other people, and it would like even itself out.
Definitely.
But it was cool. Like, we took it in turns to buy the cards. It was all very much a community thing. We all met together when, to try and decide who should be a part of it and stuff. And this is where it's quite an interesting topic because, there has been chat about revisiting it, and there's been, conversations years ago that never took off about trying to get it off the ground. And I was always on the fence. And the reason for that was I didn't like, or I still don't like, it could be seen as elitist. That it's like, okay, so we're saying we're the best 7 coffee shops.
Anti-community.
It's like the whole driver of it is to benefit the community, the specialty coffee community, but it's grown so much in that time.
Yeah.
So like, however long ago it was, 6 years ago, say, I think it was fair enough to be like, these probably are near enough the best ones, certainly the ones which were most engaged in building a coffee community. So there were a lot more cuppings back then, public cuppings. If you came to one in our shop, you would expect the people in the Disloyal 7 would be there. And yeah, like, it wasn't the case that everyone had to be involved in, you don't have to be involved in the coffee community to own a coffee shop in Scotland.
No, but I think that's quite interesting what you've said there, is that very much we're talking about the specialty coffee community. And there's heaps of coffee shops in Edinburgh and Glasgow, across Scotland, which maybe wouldn't categorize themselves as much necessarily a specialty. Like maybe their focus is baking or their focus is something else. Whereas what you're saying is really those cafes that are hyper-focused, I would say all of you, on the quality of coffee. That is a community where you all literally love chatting to each other about coffee.
Yeah. And I guess the idea was, especially we're not a seasonal business, but the Fringe is its own micro season, which it really does kick on for cafes. And I think we already would have tourists coming in being like, where else can I check out?
Yeah.
Or where's good for lunch? And we found ourselves writing down, like on the back of postcards, like constantly like El Cartel and like Cult and loads.
Do you know really good for that as well is the coffee guide? For that. Really, really good.
Yeah. Yes. I don't know. But like it's it's great. No, it's great.
What's not great about it?
No, well, it's there's a level of funding involved.
Oh, so it's basically advertising.
It's
transparency. You pay to be in that.
Yeah, you pay to be in it.
Yeah.
And I think that's fine. Like that's how they can afford to make the
Yeah.
And I think what this was more almost like a cartel of cafes coming together to be like, we all think we're all good. So let's recommend each other to
good coffee card.
trademark.
Yeah.
But yeah, as I say, it wasn't the first one to have done that. I do think like it had a lot of value, and I think people still ask about it and whether it's coming back. I'd love to do it in some way. I think let it live on. I just don't know how to then cherry pick. Like assuming we would be a part of it, hopefully 6 other fantastic cafes. Like, do we not make the cut?
Maybe there is a disloyal.
Start our own one, the disloyal one.
Maybe there is literally one, and you're not in it.
Yeah, it might be pretty awkward. No, we've been talking about it.
Nah, I'm joking.
But yeah,
I completely. I think it is. It's a perfect example of the Edinburgh coffee community. That I think it was a really, really good idea. I want to come back briefly. Obviously, the bonus episode, as you briefly touched on, said briefly twice in 10 seconds, is with Kyle McGee, or Mageisha, as he's being called by some people.
Yeah,
Kyle Mageisha.
About
how someone like him can benefit. And I guess that's more as an individual wanting to build their journey, how the community gets behind people like that. And I think, as we chatted at the start, as a business owner, quite often you will find people who are really willing and ready to support you as a small business owner. And usually, like I said, that's kind words. It's little bits of advice. Whereas what we're seeing with Kyle is like, obviously he's got a niche area of focus where he's competing, and people really have given him a lot of support.
Yeah, and I think
across the community.
Yeah, we touched upon, like almost making your own luck. Like I strongly believe that every barista in the world should be building their own brand. Like it's not hard to do. Like, it takes dedication and regularity of posting and all these things that a business would be doing. But like, why not treat yourself as a business? And like, there's opportunities to be had. Like you said, that like Morgan, managed to build into a career through social media. Yeah. And now has a side hustle essentially of monetizing YouTube, TikTok, all these things. And I think that we do have to just realize that it's 2023 and everyone has the opportunity and should take it of building their own brand.
Completely agree.
Why not?
I think if you want to have that journey within the coffee industry, but it's the same regardless of what industry you're in now. TikTok, Instagram, they allow you to build your own brand. Yeah. And even YouTube, we want to get more into this, doing tutorials, doing reviews of products, doing how to make, certain beverages. It's
Beveraginos.
Like you could be doing that at home. And again, Adam Coffee Glass, we'll just call him Adam. Adam does a lot of those videos. Yeah. I think there's a huge demand out there for that kind of stuff. And there's a huge community of people watching them.
For sure. And I think that's, like, it is to a certain extent, it isn't still probably an industry in its infancy. I mean, the amount of people consuming coffee is mind-blowing, and the amount that are consuming specialty coffee is far, far, far less than that. Yeah. So I think there's still, if you think about it in like cryptocurrency, it's like we're at the start of the Bitcoin boom. The bull run is coming.
We'll play Robbie's crypto video.
That's one for Deli Hunt.
There we go.
We are.
To be fair, segue again. We are potential. Caveat: this is not financial advice. There's chat with all these banks going bust. Are we at the start of another crypto? Boom!
Here we go.
Both
we all need
Robbie and I and Jack are heavily in the red.
I mean, I didn't go if my wife's watching this, I didn't put that much. Because
oh yeah, I can imagine she's.
But of what I did, I am heavily in the red. Yeah. But there's time yet. But it would take a lot to claw its way back.
Let's hope for the crypto boom.
And the good news is I got my dad to invest in it before the Super Bowl as well. So,
so he was at peak. He's now at bottom.
Yeah.
So guys, let's pump.
So
that's what we're saying.
That's my nest egg gone. Yeah. So we either take off on YouTube or I am literally going to be sleeping in the corner here. So quite dry. Oh, I can hear a leak a wee bit.
No,
you might be outside. Massive. Gone off tangent. But this is probably what people probably don't just want to hear us talk about coffee. Maybe they do.
Crypto's a community. Like, if we can get tapped in, that's right there is our pod. Here's the title for this one this week. Yeah. People love damn cryptos.
What do you think then are like the most important tools then for building a community? Like people talk about Discord. Like I don't really feel like I'm connected to that at all.
So what you're talking about is tools, I guess. Things that can help you to build your community. I think underlying all of it, and this is me Gary V-ing you, is you have to add value to build a community. So you can't build a community around vacuous nonsense. Some people can.
So it needs to be quite focused.
No, I don't even need to be focused. It just needs to be like Gary V's stuff is not focused. Gary V.
Gavi, that's what I call him. A Gavi.
His stuff's not focused. It's high level, positive, motivational stuff, and
he was quite an early adopter on that train, wasn't he? So I think that has given him credibility. Whilst there's so many people imitating it,
because he called it right, and he always calls it right. And I'm like, Jack's like, no, he doesn't. He is an incredibly successful person because he can see trends, and then his whole business is around telling people that he can see trends. And then that's pretty much all the videos he posts. He adds value to his community. He adds value to me, I would say. I think that's the most important thing. So this podcast has to add value to build a community. I
name dropped Casey Neistat the other day, and I think you almost scoffed, or somebody scoffed.
Katie who?
Casey Neistat. Because I said I bought my camera because Casey Neistat had it. Anyway, Casey Neistat basically built a massive community around what he was doing, which was daily vlogs for like multiple years.
What was he vlogging?
Literally his life in New York City. It was incredible, but it was all very, very high end.
So what value was he adding to you? What were you enjoying about that?
Escapism, I think, probably.
And being like, his life looks cool.
Yeah, and like he does cool things, he spends money on things. That's where Mr. Beast again built a community, because it's like it's shock tactics of like this guy spending millions on a YouTube video.
The guy's built an enormous community.
Yeah.
And I'm like, both Jack and I have a similar reaction to Mr. Beast, but you can't.
But what is the reason for like that? Is it success? Is it
not that he eats like raw meat or something?
No, he made his own burger company.
Yeah,
Beast Burgers.
Yeah.
No, isn't that a liver killer or something?
That's the Liver King, isn't it?
No, I don't know who that is. No, I'm talking about Mr. Beast, dude. But the interesting thing about him now is a lot of he continues with his crazy content. He's very. He is all about giving back to the community. So he has paid for people to. He's cured blindness, and like people had cataracts and done videos on it. He's given like 100,000 pairs of shoes to kids in Africa and filmed it. It's like he's using his community to then allow himself to be what's the word? A philanthropist, I guess.
Good word.
Which is cool and admirable, and I think helps to build community. And I think I guess that there's a question around, to build and lead a community, do you have to stand for something?
Yes. And so I think what you're saying there is, and an issue I have a lot of the time with probably influencers and people who are building communities, the word community is about almost a symbiotic relationship. You give and you get back. So you're building a community because you want to make money, essentially, off that community. That really is the whole crux of the issue. So if you're not providing value to that community, why should you make money off them?
So a great example of this is Patreon, where it's like you have content or education or videos or vlogs or anything, and you can only access them through a paywall, and people have to give you a regular subscription payment to be able to see that content. And I suppose that it relies and only works if your content continues to be good and to build your community around it.
Like your OnlyFans account.
Exactly. Well, that's maybe another good example of subscription model.
Just
of that
Robbie,
sort.
R-O-B-I, Lambie, OnlyFans.
That's where you'll find it. That's where you'll find my customer account.
First 10 days are free. Yeah, I agree. But that's why I love Patreon as well, because I'm like, nobody's paying if you don't add value.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Which it's interesting.
Yeah.
And I think a lot of people, and the process of building the community is obviously an extraordinarily hard part of it. And probably a large failing in that is that you don't stand for anything. And I think that's where I'm like, there's a risk on standing for something because you upset someone.
Yeah.
But equally, and this is what like our marketing story shop would say, like if you're wishy-washy and you don't have
an opinion,
then you
get
don't
out.
Yeah, you like what is there to sell almost? And I suppose that's quite interesting. But then equally, once you've built that community, you have a responsibility to, in my opinion, be responsible with that opportunity and not kind of thwart that opportunity to speak to a wider group
I
of people.
completely agree with that. And we chatted about the other week that obviously the whole point and a large part of why we do this is we want to be positive and have a positive impact on the coffee community. One thing I wanted to quickly chat about then on that was, do you get anything for nothing? So again, that's a community type thing where obviously podcasts are free. You can watch YouTube for free. Is anything free? Like that? People don't do stuff for free.
No.
And we do this because we really, really enjoy it. I think that is a large part. And obviously you talk about, obviously one day the dream would be to monetize this, where you're getting hit with a Spotify ad in the middle and it's like, oh, that's great. But reality is we enjoy it. We enjoy engaging with the community. But at the end of the day, you enjoy it because it's your job and you want to make money out of it as well, I guess.
I think, do you know, the enjoyment thing is interesting because I think that people engage harder with something that has, like,
of course, if you were saying you're crying, I'm not going to enjoy it.
No, but I mean, like, if it's clear that I'm trying to sell coffee and like I'm doing that to try and make money, it's harder to engage with if it's literally just like, I absolutely love geisha. I'm wearing a cap. Because I love it so hard, you know. It's like there's more merit in like I think people can really see through it. Like I think that there's so much value in enjoying what you do. Obviously, it's great for us, but I think people enjoy that with you. Like people come into the cafe if it's really just a transactional arrangement. Yeah. And an example of that might be like a Pret. I had but I had like a disagreement with the guys who was on holiday in Chester with over at Pret because they have like the subscription where they can go in and buy coffee for, and I was basically like, that's cool, but you are ruining someone's life in
so you pay
origin
£20
producing
a
country.
month, you get unlimited coffee basically. I don't know if it's still £20 a month.
But I mean,
ridiculous scheme.
There's another topic on that. Like, yes, you don't get anything for nothing. So the downside of that is for them to be able to afford to do that, the quality has to be crap.
And they want you to come in and buy 16 sandwiches while you're in there. I want to just touch on, because I think that's a really good point.
Sandwiches.
Well, exactly. We're about to get that in, but to close on before we get that, do you think part of the reason the Scottish coffee community is so good and so vibrant and so helpful is because people genuinely enjoy what they're doing? And so you talk about most people we meet are absolutely buzzing to be part of the coffee industry.
Yeah, I think so.
They're buzzing because they drink a lot of coffees as well.
Do you know what the interesting thing is? The coffee community, as I know it, which the specialty community, it hadn't been around for a huge amount of time before we got into it as a business. Yeah, there were cafes that had been there for a year more than us, maybe a couple of years in some cases, but we've been a part of it for longer than it has existed, I would say. Yeah, and with other cafes, the likes of Cult, the likes of Fortitude, the likes of Lowdown, everyone has grown up together. And I think with that comes responsibility of having kids, of getting married, of, having a mortgage. And I feel like your priorities change. And I feel like it's interesting for me, like the coffee community was very different 5 years ago. Yeah. Because we all had every summer to have every night free to go and cup coffee together, and it was like there would be
It's very
during the Fringe
interesting.
like 4 nights a week cuppings were happening with La Cabra coming
Let
over,
the
Barn
younger
coming over.
generation have a go
But
now.
so that's what I think now is the next
Yeah.
generation are they have a platform themselves now through Instagram or TikTok to be able to be like, right, I don't need to own a business to be
Yeah.
spearheading this community.
But it's very cool. Recently, obviously, Kate, Matt, and Hannah have gone off to cult cuppings, for example. So it is great to see it still very much alive in people who don't have 2 kids.
Yeah. I'm going to have to go to the toilet. So I'm going to do something we've never done before, maybe. Might let Jack sit in my seat
Oh, no.
when he brings these in.
Right,
Hold the microphone for 10 seconds.
Right, let's go.
So bring this in. What have we got? So this is the crisp break.
This is
Crispy
a crisp break, but basically our new roastery, it shares location with one of Edinburgh's most loved. It's not really even a small business. It probably is a small business. Chivarino's. So we are delighted to today be getting to do our podcast with, rather than a crisp break, a pizza break. And so Jack and I, both being, Jack's vegetarian, I'm vegan, so we went for, oh no, can't even remember the name. It was kind of like it's like a Hawaiian.
Yeah, it had a chutney sort of thing.
A Hawaiian, but plant-based, essentially. Pineapple on pizzas. Get in the comments there. Who likes pineapple on their pizza? I love pineapple on my pizza. Jack, what about you?
I love pineapple on pizza. My Dom's order is a Texas barbecue without the meat, basically.
Yeah,
I swap in the pineapple and sweet corn.
Oh, why is pineapple so good on a pizza?
It's sweet. It's like Robbie said. Like Robbie wants any type of sugar on his pizza. Like, get me some pineapple on pizza.
It's absolutely banging.
I had at the Edinburgh Street Food Market. I had like deep fried pineapple tacos.
That sounds absolutely delightful.
It was.
Are we going to get Robbie back in? That's great. Maybe just.
I do want a piece of pizza.
To be fair, we need to check how long's left on that camera. But yeah, you quickly take a bite
Very long.
and give us your rating. 1 bite. Everyone knows the rules.
And if you want to buy Severino's, you can
It's taking the biggest slice. We're sharing this piece. So he's taking the biggest slice.
visit them. Where can you visit them, Harris?
Forest Road, Portobello, Shorefront. Where else? There you go. Those are all the places. But Chivarino's probably will be worldwide someday. I think absolute banger of a business. Tell us about your pizza.
Delicious, fucking delicious.
Yeah.
It's cold, but it's still amazing.
Why is it cold? Because we chat too much. Talk us through some of the sauces then as well. What sauce did you go? Sorry. Robbie, you just...
We got
You
hot
got
sauce,
garlic
aioli sauce, and pesto, which is novel for a pizza.
It is.
Never
The
seen
pesto
pesto
sauce
in a
is
sauce.
banging. So I'm just going to... I've got spicy sauce. I already spilt some on me.
It is so good. It's actually really good cold.
It's so good.
It's a bit spicy there.
Like, we're upgrading from crisp breaks to pizza breaks in the future. Robbie, hopefully you can catch him on that. Literally his dream job. Pizza review, man. Right, Jack, get out.
I almost started a pizzeria.
Did you?
Well, I walked around Edinburgh talking about it.
At the moment, you look a little bit like Mario
There you go.
from Mario Kart.
Do you know it was
Sorry, keep talking.
it was with a guy who also now owns a cafe. We had this like real entrepreneurial streak. We really wanted to open something, and this was like
Mr. Business.
2015.
Yeah.
So what? I don't think there was a Severino's at that point. Don't know when they started, but we couldn't agree on a name. So that was he wanted to call it Jazzy Pepper, and it was going to be a jazz bar downstairs and a pizza place upstairs.
That's
I was like, Jazzy Pepper is not going to be the name.
You know, Robbie's one of those great business people who is an ideas man. So basically every business that has ever been invented.
Yep.
Robbie's like, oh, I thought that.
Yes, but there are some very, very clear ones that I did start. And
what other businesses did you start but not start?
Sunglasses.
Oh, yeah.
Tell me about that. How can I get
No, that's actually a lawsuit.
Richard Branson's going to come after me. What else? I'm inventing cold brew, so some on that. This is great. This is a 9 out of 10. Oh, a 10 out of 10. Oh,
Yeah, you show Robbie got 2 pizzas, obviously.
that's the one that everyone wants to see.
What I love here is
Detroit slice.
Nessie's. So my wee dog Nessie has obviously heard pizza box rustling and has made her way all the way in. Can you see her?
For a bit of pineapple.
For a bit of pineapple.
We're obviously going to get a electronic Hoover. You could just use Nessie.
You would Hoover up the pizza, wouldn't
Leave
you?
her up here overnight.
Quick shout out for Ness. There's clothes.
Ness the mess. Nah.
Who's Katie?
Just improved the appeal of this podcast by 10.
We have, until I dropped my dog.
Right. So, I don't know if you talked while I was in the lavatory, but this is obviously an example of community.
Yes.
The guy literally almost forced us to eat this. Because obviously we were trying to be awkward, polite Scottish guys.
Yeah.
Like, oh no, that's so kind. And then I was like, actually, I'll have that, and I'll have this, and I'll have some chips, and some mac and cheese balls if they're going.
It is. Chivarino's is a massive example of that. And I love, Michele, who is owner of Chivarino's, a huge community man himself, as in everyone knows Michele, I guess. It's probably one of those
But
things.
he's built his own personal brand.
100%.
Another example of that?
Robbie, Coffee
Mama
Land.
Ross, I was going to say.
Oh, Mama Ross. Yeah, very similar type business. Right, I'm going to have to... Should we clear the pizza boxes away as well, maybe?
Oh, I only had like one bite.
You're getting one more slice.
This man's had like 4 slices.
I haven't stock counted the slice.
Second slice.
Oh, we'll keep the chips out.
Oh yeah, half of the second pizza.
I have a couple of these. Wow, that was probably the most distracting crisp break we've ever had. I've been left on my own here, so I'm going to just go rogue on the mic. He's coming back. I had a really good topic in the conversation in the.
As soon as you said roll on the mic.
I was thinking, we should talk a wee bit about the other podcasts or other content creators who, for me, have built a community that I have engaged with.
Yeah.
And the first one that really hit home for me was a podcast called Tamper Tantrum. And it was 2 titans of the coffee industry who became friends and eventually business partners and are still going strong. One was Colin Harmon, who owns 3FE.
Yeah.
Another was Steve Layton, who owned Has Been and now owns, or part owner, Drop Coffee in Stockholm, I think.
That's pretty cool.
Or Helsingborg.
Any relation to Jim Layton?
I don't know who Jim Layton is.
Aberdeen goalkeeper from
All right. I did think it sounded familiar.
That is very cool. I
only really liked Andy Gorham.
Yeah, great. Played for Elgin once.
I went and saw him.
Yeah, I remember
So funny. Went under his legs. Everyone's like, what are you doing, you fat mess? No, I'm joking. He has actually died now. It's just quite.
Yes, we did.
Yeah, I should take that back.
RP.
No, he was he went there pretty late in his career. He would probably call himself a fat mess. You need to cut this out.
Scotland's greatest ever goalkeeper.
We've gone on a massive tangent.
We have. But yeah, so Steve Layton.
Steve Layton, yeah, he's probably the first one to build a community around coffee. So he did, every week he did a YouTube video. We're talking mid 2000s. I would he's done his he's not associated with Has Been anymore, but they've just done their 950th in my cup. So what would that be? Like 10 years. 20 years.
If you do how many?
One a week. 19 years or something.
No, more.
It's mad. Anyway, that's mind blowing.
That's mind blowing. It's almost 20 years.
Yeah. So he had like an old school MacBook, red MacBook, and he had a desk where he did it every week, and he would do in my mug. This is the coffee people are drinking at home, like we do with our coffee of the month video for the Curate subscription, which would be an inspiration for me.
Do you know what I find fascinating about that is that, and this is where Jack's not even listening anymore, but the technological quality back then, I guess it would have been acceptable because it was the same for everyone, but would have been very, very low budget, I assume. Whereas now everyone thinks you need to be super high end and super high budget to be able to, you're like, oh, I can't post that because of X or whatever. And we're obviously sitting here right now. We've got 3 cameras. We've got the Rode. Probably got the best part of
£100.
It'd be close to, it's more than 5,000, but probably under 10,000 worth of equipment sitting in front of us right now. Yeah. So hell's a lot of money. Yeah. Whereas he was doing that. I think that's what you find a lot of these creators, and you chat about, is it Mr. Beast as well, who started very much super budget setups, and then they obviously progress into less budget setups.
Yeah, I think he was like a mic stand, maybe like gaffer tape to a phone or something of that ilk. But that ethos is something that I really, really, really stand by in business, in anything. Like, just you have to just do it. Yeah, like, there's the only thing worse than doing something badly is doing something and not doing something at all. It's like,
but that shows, I think, that if your setup doesn't matter, if you add value, more people will listen to you, and then hopefully, if you are able to monetize that, you can upgrade your setup, and then more people keep listening to you. And that is the whole point, really, is that if you have a budget setup and you add value, people are still going to listen to you. Yeah, people come.
Yeah. Would you say if you've got a great setup and talk drivel, it still works?
Yeah, absolutely not. And that's, I think, that probably then highlights to us what is important about a community. Essentially, is that it. God, here we are. Definition of community. What's important about a community is that it adds value to the people within the community. And altruistically as well, you don't have to be part of a community to take from it either. But I think what we said earlier as well, nothing comes for free necessarily. Sometimes, if you are part of a community, you're probably expecting to receive some information as well as give some information. Yeah. But I think that's, I'll wrap it up. That was, So the whole point of what we're doing here is to help build a community. We love being part of the Scottish coffee community. Yeah. You're going down to London on Friday to be part of the UK coffee community with Kyle at the UKBC.
Which I just realised is out in the sticks, and I don't know how to get there. Which is planning on literally a quick flight down in the morning, quick flight back. But
it's worldwide.
Got things to do, nappies to change. Yeah, exactly. We'll be doing that. And then we are trying to connect ourselves as much as possible. So, we're going to be at the Glasgow Coffee Festival with stand. We don't know what we're going to do yet, but what's important to us is having
live.
We'd love to do something with the podcast there.
Oh.
But it's all about, being... we'll do something like that. Maybe we could get Jack doing custom embroidery of Cairngorm hats or something.
Could be.
That'd be quite good. Anyway, we'll talk about that off cam. The other one is there's a burgeoning coffee community in our old stomping ground of Murray. And we have...
Burgeoning. That was such a good use of the word burgeoning. I love that.
I've been reading my thesaurus.
Oh, that was such a good use. Burgeoning. That's cool. Murray. Big shout outs to Murray.
Yeah. And that is, it's important to us that we stay connected to our communities.
Can I quickly shout out another one of our customers up in Murray, Right to Rome, operating out of a guy called Ed, operates out of a van in sort of near Aberlour, and absolutely smashes it. Smashing out Cairngorm coffees on like quite a small setup, I would say. But again, it just shows that if you put in the effort, you can definitely create a really, really good business out of it. He very much community kind of feel how we got him too, isn't it? As a customer. Sure. So big shout out. Murray, go back to Murray. We love Murray.
No, just they're doing like a Murray Coffee Week. And I'm like, It's so cool. Like we were having that awful conversation about having to go to London to be a part of the wider, community to build your career.
Yeah.
When I was living in Murray, there wasn't a community there for coffee. So I knew that working at my dad's cafe wouldn't give me the platform I wanted to build a career. And so it ended up in Edinburgh, which not quite as far as London, obviously. But now it feels very much like you can carve out a career in coffee in micro communities all over Scotland, which is class. And this Murray Coffee Week thing is something we want to like. I'm hoping we're in discussions about potentially doing something up there with it. They announced it on their live, so it is happening. And they were quite excited about it. And I think that's really inspiring for me because, you don't realize that like people are maybe engaging with what we're doing up there, and maybe there's an opportunity for us to maybe inspire with our experience on people who are the next generation of specialty coffee leaders.
100%. And I think
that made it sound like I think we're the current specialty coffee leaders.
But I think you always underestimate how much help you can be to other people because you're like, oh, nobody wants to hear from me. But I think that, long story short, what we're saying about this is the Scottish coffee community and the UK specialty coffee community is very, very alive. And do not hesitate to reach out to someone in the coffee community because that person will be able to put you in touch with someone else if they don't know the answer. So I very much think we now are trying to create a platform where we can probably advertise this slightly more, but let's all get the Scottish coffee community absolutely buzzing.
Yeah. I think May, the Glasgow Coffee Festival, that's going to be the first of the year real like strong opportunities to just see where everything's at, and I'm like super buzzed about it. I think it's going to be great. So I'll see you there with custom embroidered caps.
Say engagement available to buy.
But these caps will be available to buy soon. If you do want to engage further with our coffee community,
no.
Which if you watched our last YouTube video, we forgot to say this. We obviously were wearing our sweaters, which were in-house jobs. You had thermal shock. I had anaerobic honey, which was a bit too small for me.
If you know, you know.
If you know, you know. So they are for sale on our website. And I guess that is a further extension of community, which we're always really enamored by. How many big words can I get in? By the fact that people are, willing to part with cash to buy something which is very much something we have created
a niche
as part of our community, which is great. It's an extension of that, and so that's great. But let's not keep you any longer. You've got places to be. This might be out.
We don't
know when, but you probably have a fish supper to eat. If you're vegan, you might have. What would you have?
Just chips.
Just chips. Chippy sauce?
I'm not a huge chippy sauce man, but
ketchup if you're in the rest of Scotland.
We've got pizzas to eat. Thank you, Severinos.
Thanks again, Severinos, for sponsoring this podcast. But seriously, if anyone does want to sponsor it, let us know. And I hope you have a great week. And please do comment. And that is one easy way of engaging with this community. We'll try and get better at replying to those comments. And please do subscribe if you're enjoying it to let us know you're there. So we can keep on doing what we're doing. But for now, thank you.
Thank you.
Keep it coffee.
Keep it coffee. New catchphrase. Love that.